Revealed. Incredible mistake connects 25-year-old virgin and wealthy millionaire. Their lives transform forever. Emily wiped a fragrant smear of grease from her cheek as she darted around the bustling diner, a world of sizzling grills and worn-out booths where dreams seemed to fade as quickly as the coffee she poured for regulars. As the eldest daughter, she had donned the armor of responsibility solemnly, balancing her family's needs atop her own unfulfilled hopes. Since her father's illness struck like a bolt from the blue, every shift felt heavier, every smile strained. Behind the cheerful facade, her heart ached with the weight of missed chances, an art school career abandoned, a voice silenced, a life on hold. Across town, the opulence of Jack's world sparkled like the chandeliers in his high-rise penthouse. Yet amidst the clinking of wine glasses and laughter at lavish galas, an echoing loneliness gnawed at his insides. The remains of his shattered marriage haunted him still, wrapping him in an armor of isolation that he wore like a second skin. Each new trophy or car felt like a band-aid over his wounds, an all-too-tempting facade for the fragmented heart beneath. He had wealth but no warmth. Surrounded by extravagant parties, Jack often found himself like a ghost in a crowded room. Then came that fateful evening, an overwhelming blunder of serendipity as Jack stumbled into the wrong event, drawn to a charity night at that very diner where Emily served sandwiches and smiles. Confusion turned to amusement as he stood, polished suit against peeling paint and neon lights, drawing audacious glances. "Is this a costume party?" a passerby whispered, grinning. Emily held back a chuckle and scrambled to maintain her professional demeanor, but every glance at him sent her heart racing with disbelief. When Jack's genuine curiosity about the charity flowed into shy conversations, Emily's guarded exterior began to crack. The laughter they shared lit unexpected warmth within her, a flicker of connection against the cold realities of her life. As he listened with kindness, her walls fell piece by piece. She confessed to her struggles with a shameful reluctance, her heart aching as she released burdens of responsibility she had held onto for so long. He was open, vulnerable, another human in a world of judgment. Before the night swelled to another regrettable goodbye, an urgent phone call brought a health crisis with her father threw Emily into a whirlwind of panic. She gripped her phone tightly, torn between desperation and the sudden vision of a wild, adventurous life she had buried deep. Tears pooled in her eyes as she glanced at Jack, whose presence seemed both a light and a weight. "I can't be with you, you don't know my life," she whispered, a stream of emotion flooding her voice. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emily sat huddled in the hospital waiting room, the sterile smell of antiseptic mockingly reminded her of the uncertainties of life. Just then, Jack appeared, his expression soft yet determined. He didn't hesitate. He simply extended his hand, ready to offer not just his wealth, but understanding, vulnerability, and hope. Emily's heart raced as she fought the urge to lean into this person who offered everything she had repressed for so long. They stood on the precipice of connection, but raw fears loomed all around them, fogging the way forward. Would she be brave enough to step beyond her fears? Was she willing to redefine what connection truly meant? As they locked eyes, the night air thick with tension, an unanswered question hung between them, stirring hope in her heart. Could this be the chance she never dared to dream of? Emily's breath hitched as she held Jack's gaze, his hand outstretched like a lifebuoy in a stormy sea. She was engulfed by a tidal wave of emotions: fear, longing, and a flicker of hope. Could she afford to let someone in, especially someone from a world so vastly different from her own? She let a teardrop escape, feeling it trace a path down her cheek, catching an unguarded moment. "Emily," Jack said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "I don't care about your circumstances. I just want to be here for you. Please let me help." His genuine warmth cracked a sliver in her heart. For the first time in months, she felt seen. The thought was intoxicating, someone who genuinely wanted to forge a connection, yet terrifying all the same. She swallowed hard, the reality of her situation weighing heavily on her shoulders. "What if this isn't the life you want?" she confessed, her voice tinged with self-doubt. "You're a millionaire and I'm just me. What can I possibly bring to your world?" "It's not about wealth or status," Jack responded, a hint of frustration breaking through. "It's about connection, about having someone to share life's burdens with. We're just two human beings trying to make sense of our lives." Emily's heart swelled, yet fear still anchored her to the waiting room bench. The chaos around them faded into a muffled hum, leaving just the two of them wrapped in a fragile moment of honesty. As much as she wanted to trust him, the ache of her father's illness loomed larger than any bright spark of love or desire. It was a storm cloud over her heart, a reminder of her responsibilities. "Jack," she breathed slowly, "my father's in there suffering. I don't even know if he'll pull through." Her voice quaked, cracking under the weight of her unspoken fears. The urgency of her family's crisis roared back, drowning out her feelings for the moment. Jack shifted his stance, his expression becoming one of understanding. "I can't even imagine what you're going through, but I'm here. Let me be with you through this. We don't have to rush into anything. Just take my hand. Let me help you carry this burden, even if it's just for a little while." Tears blurred her vision anew, but the corners of her mouth turned slightly upward in a reluctant smile. Could she really allow herself this small glimpse of companionship amidst the darkness? There was something in Jack's gaze and earnestness that whispered against her fears. Forcing herself to breathe, Emily reached out and finally clasped his hand. The contact sent sparks of warmth all through her, igniting something long dormant inside. In that moment, she realized that perhaps she didn't have to shoulder everything alone. As they turned toward the entrance of the hospital, a familiar flicker of hope ignited within her. For the first time, she envisioned a path that stretched beyond responsibilities and fears, a journey shared with someone brave enough to step into her chaos. But just as they began to move forward, Emily's phone buzzed sharply in her pocket. The sudden sound jolted her back to reality. Hesitation flickered across her face as she pulled it out. Her stomach sank as she saw the name lighting up the screen: her mother. What news awaited her on the other side? Would it bring them closer together or shatter the fragile moment they had just begun to build? With a shaky breath, she met Jack's concerned gaze. "I have to answer this." And as she swiped the screen, a new chapter of uncertainty began to unfold. Emily hesitated, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She couldn't afford the distraction, not now. But the truth was, the call felt heavier than any weight she had carried in weeks. With a deep breath, she accepted. "Hello?" Her voice trembled slightly as she placed the phone to her ear, Jack's presence still grounding her. "Emily, where are you?" Her mother's voice was laced with panic, the undertones of stress creeping in. "The doctor just called. He wants to discuss your father's situation." The world around Emily narrowed to a pinprick. She could see Jack watching her, a silent question etched on his face. What was happening? The floor felt unsteady beneath her, and she gripped the phone tighter, feeling it tremble in her hand. "Is it bad?" she asked, her voice a mere whisper. The room around her buzzed dimly, the weight of her mother's response looming over her. "We need to talk in person, Emily. It's important." The urgency in her mother's tone felt like an impending storm, dark and vast. Emily's stomach twisted. Couldn't her father catch a break for once? How close to the edge was he? I'll be there," she said, forcing the words through a throat thick with fear. Disconnecting the call, she turned toward Jack, her expression a mixture of uncertainty and distress. "We need to go." "Okay," Jack said gently, his grip on her hand tightening just enough to anchor her in that moment. "Let us get through this together." As they walked toward the elevators, Emily took shaky breaths, ruminating on what her mother had said. "It's important." The phrase tugged at her, filling her with dread and anticipation. Did it mean her father's condition had worsened? Or did it carry somber news that would flip her world upside down? Jack stayed quietly beside her, sensing the storm brewing within her. Silence cocooned them, yet his presence felt like a soft light in the oppressive darkness of the hospital. She could almost feel her fears trailing a shadow behind her, whispering doubt and despair. The elevator doors slid open with a barely audible ding, and she stepped inside, Jack close behind. The small space felt claustrophobic, the walls closing in as her thoughts swirled. She caught her reflection in the shiny metal, an image of resolve mixed with vulnerability as the elevator descended. Jack broke the silence. You know, whatever happens with your father, I'm here for you. You don't have to go through this alone. The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket on a cold winter night. She dared to meet his gaze, an unspoken connection solidifying between them. All at once, she wanted to let him in, to share this heavy burden. But fear held her back. What if she brought him into her chaos, only for it to drown them both? When the doors slid open, they stepped out into the stark hospital corridor, the air thickening with uncertainty. Where are we going? Jack asked, his tone gentle like he understood the weight of the moment. To the ICU, Emily replied, her voice unwavering yet edged with fear. My father's in there. As they approached the waiting room, the chatter of others faded. Her focus narrowed to the door ahead. Would the news deepen the chasm of her heartache? Or would it open a door to some sliver of hope? They reached the waiting room, and her mother stood just inside, her face pale and etched with worry. Emily's heart raced. Whatever her mother had to say would change everything. But before she could step forward, her mother caught her eye, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Emily, we need to talk. In that suspended moment, a new fear crept in. What if the conversation shattered the fragile hope she had begun to build with Jack? As the weight of the unknown pressed heavily on her shoulders, she clutched Jack's hand tighter, silently praying that they wouldn't be torn apart. What revelation waited just beyond that door? Would it strengthen her bond with Jack, or send them spiraling into uncertainty? Emily took a cautious step forward, her heartbeat hammering in her chest like a drum. Jack followed closely, his presence a tether to reality. She could feel her mother's eyes pin the weight of the moment on her. Mom? The word escaped her lips, raw and desperate. She needed reassurance. She craved certainty in this whirlwind of fear. She noticed the flicker of light in her mother's gaze. Was it hope or apprehension? Come sit down, her mother urged, gesturing to the small, uncomfortable chairs that lined the waiting room. Emily sank into one, Jack hovering beside her, his fingers lightly brushing her shoulder. I don't understand, Emily whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. What is it? Is Dad okay? Her mother inhaled deeply, as if trying to gather her scattered thoughts. The doctor is concerned, she began, her voice cracking just a bit. There have been complications. Emily felt her breath hitch. Complications meant more than just bad news. It meant uncertainty, pain, and perhaps a step further into the unknown. Her father's smile flashed through her mind, the way he always seemed to light up the room. Complications? She echoed, searching her mother's eyes for clarity, for anything that could anchor her in this moment. He is stable for now, her mother hastily added, trying to soothe the storm brewing in Emily's eyes. But they want to run more tests. The words felt heavy and leaden, filling the air with an unshakable despair. Jack stepped closer, placing his hand firmly on her back, as if to ward off the encroaching shadows. What kind of tests? Emily pressed, her heart thrumming louder with each question. They want to see if there's been any progress or deterioration in his condition. We just need to wait. Her mother glanced at the clock on the wall, the seconds ticking down an agonizing beat. You know, he has always fought hard, but we need to see how he's responding to treatment. Can I see him? The question slipped out before she could stop it. The longing to be near her father surged like an unrelenting tide. Not yet, sweetie. Her mother's voice cracked. Not until they finish evaluating him. You know how this works. A deep ache settled in Emily's chest. The waiting, the uncertainty, it was torture. But Jack, sensing her distress, leaned down to whisper in her ear. I'm right here, Em. Just breathe. She nodded, trying to pull in a steadying breath, but it hitched in her throat. Felt so wrong to have to wait, for everything to hang in limbo. Time dragged as they waited, Emily's mind racing. Thoughts of her father, his laughter, his words of wisdom, spun through her head like a broken record. Jack's warmth beside her provided some comfort, but the fear lingered, gnawing at her heart. Hours passed, and Emily finally stood, gripping Jack's hand. I can't do this anymore. I need to know. She moved toward the nurse's station, her heart pounding as she prepared to demand answers, feeling a flicker of determination uncoil in her chest. But before she could speak, the door to the ICU swung open, and a doctor emerged. His face was stoic, shrouded in the gravity of the moment. "Miss Turner?" he called, fixing his gaze on Emily. The collective breath held in the room shattered. She turned, eyes widening, anticipation twisting in her stomach. "What's happening?" she asked, stepping closer, her voice shaking but urgent. The doctor's expression was unreadable. "We need to discuss your father's condition." Every muscle in her body tensed, bracing for the tsunami of information that could change everything she held dear. What revelation would the doctor bring? Would it spiral her down further, or offer a flicker of hope? As Jack stepped forward, tension crackled in the air. This was it. Whatever came next could outline their future, intertwining their lives in ways they couldn't yet imagine. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would she have the strength to face the truth, no matter how painful? Emily held her breath, every heartbeat marking the space between her and the truth. The doctor's expression remained calm, yet she could detect an undercurrent of tension in his eyes. Moments stretched like elastic, thickening the air around them as if the universe had paused just for this revelation. "Sit down," the doctor urged gently, motioning to the chairs in the waiting area. His voice was low and measured, but the command felt heavy. Fear weighed heavily on Emily's chest, and she didn't want to sit. A part of her was terrified of what that motion would symbolize giving up, resigning herself to whatever news would come. Jack, however, guided her to a seat with a firm yet gentle grip. The warmth of his hand remained on her back, a steady anchor amid the storm. Emily's gaze darted towards her mother, who had gone pale, her hands twisting in her lap like ropes unraveling softly. "Your father, he has been in critical condition for the past few hours," the doctor began, choosing his words with care. "His heart has been struggling to keep up with the demands of the treatment." Emily felt the room sway. Critical condition. Those words echoed in her mind, punctuated by the sharpness of reality slicing through her hope. "No," she whispered, blinking rapidly as tears threatened to spill. She needed to be strong. "What does that mean?" The words escaped like a whisper of dread. "I know this is difficult," the doctor continued, his composure unyielding. "But with the complications arising from his response, we're facing some tough options. There's a chance he may need to go on life support if his heart doesn't stabilize." Life support. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, a concept that loomed ominously in her mind. Emily looked down, swallowing thickly as she fought against the wave of terror rising within her. She had grown up with stories of miracles, moments that defied despair. But hope felt fleeting now, like slipping sand between her fingers. "Can't you do something? On your end?" Jack's protective, firm tone broke through her spiraling thoughts. His eyes were filled with desperation, and she could tell he was fighting for her as much as himself. "We are doing everything we can," the doctor assured, a hint of sympathy softening his gaze. "But you must understand, nothing is guaranteed. We have to prepare for every possible outcome." Emily's heart sank deeper. Every possible outcome. What did that entail? Questions wheeled in her mind, colliding with memories of her father, the man who taught her to ride a bike, the one who showed her the stars from their front yard, the one who would always tell her that life always had a way to surprise you. "Can I see him?" she implored, her voice firming as her resolve gathered. "Please, I need to see Dad." The doctor hesitated, exchanging a glance with Emily's mother before he nodded slowly. "Okay, but only for a few minutes. I'll have a nurse escort you." As she stood, Everything felt muted. The fluorescent lights buzzed around her, but they seemed distant as she followed the doctor down the stark white hallways. Jack stayed close, his presence a lifeline tethering her to this world. When they reached the room, Emily's heart raced. The door loomed large, and the sounds inside filtered out, eerie tones punctuated by mechanical beeps. 1 breath, 2 breaths. She grasped the handle and pushed. What lay before her shook her to the core. Her father lay pale against the sheets, tubes attached to his body as if trying to breathe life into him. The sight filled her with an unbearable sadness, yet it also ignited a fierce determination in her gut. She stepped further into the room, the world outside fading. "Dad," she whispered, her voice breaking but resolute. "I'm here." His eyes fluttered open for a moment, showing a flicker of recognition despite the haze. "Emily," he managed, his voice cracked and raw. It was a whisper that fought through the fog of his condition. In that frail connection, she felt more than fear. She felt the weight of their shared history, their love, their unbreakable bond. Here, facing the storm of uncertainty, there was still a flicker of hope threading through their desperate reality. But as she reached for him, a thought struck her, a nagging whisper persisting in the shadows. Was there something her father hadn't told her? Something that might change everything? The moment slipped further into a quagmire of questions wrapped in a husk of trembling hope. She gazed at her father and found herself wondering if she was ready to unearth whatever secrets hung between them all while the clock ticked on, relentlessly pressing against time. What had he carried in silence? And was it a burden that would bind them even tighter or shatter their fragile world further? Emily's heart raced as she moved closer to her father's bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic filling her senses. Each beep of the machines around him felt like a reminder of how fragile life was. She reached out, taking his hand in hers. His skin felt cold and fragile, but the warmth of their connection seemed to halo around them, pushing back the chill of uncertainty. "Emily," he struggled, his breath uneven, the effort evident in his face. She squeezed his hand tighter, willing strength into him. "Don't talk, Dad. Just focus on me," she urged softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm right here." She could see the shadows of pain etched into his features, the fight he was putting forth just to stay awake, just to stay present. It broke her heart, yet anger flared in her chest at the thought of losing him. Fighting against the rising tide of despair, Emily felt that familiar knot of determination tighten in her stomach. "Can you tell me what's going on?" She pressed gently, desperate for answers. "Is there something you haven't told me?" His eyes clouded, and it hurt Emily to see the struggle to articulate his thoughts. A tear spilled down her cheek, and in that moment, she made a silent vow. Whatever secrets he was hiding, she would get to the bottom of them. She wouldn't let fear silence their bond any longer. "I'm proud of you," he managed, a sliver of a smile breaking through the pain. "Always have been, Dad. Please don't say that. We'll get through this." "You're not leaving me," she cried, her voice steadying as she fought back a fresh wave of tears. "I love you. You're my hero." The smile wavered, and the lines of worry etched across his forehead deepened. "Emily, listen," he breathed. "Promise me something." "Anything," she said, her heart racing. The urgency in his voice sent shivers down her spine. "Promise you'll find the truth," he gasped, each word pulling a piece of his strength. "About my health life, Dad, you're gonna be fine. Just focus on getting better," she replied, but uncertainty flickered behind her words. "Promise," he insisted, tightening his grip on her hand as if willing her to understand. "I promise," she whispered, though a weight settled in her chest. She sensed there was more a piece of the puzzle he wasn't revealing, maybe one that could change everything she believed about him and their family. The door creaked open, interrupting their moment. A nurse stepped in, clipboard in hand, her presence grounding. "Time us up, I'm sorry," she said, moving closer. Emily's heart sank. "Just a few more minutes?" she pleaded. The nurse shook her head gently. "He needs to rest, honey." She turned back to her father, fighting the lump in her throat. "I'll be right here when you wake up," she promised, knowing it was a little lie she'd hold on to for both their sakes. Remember promise, he breathed, the words tinged with urgency. I will, Emily assured him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead, feeling the heat of his skin against her fingertips. As she stepped away, the weight of his stare lingered on her, a question sewn into the fabric of their shared silence. Emily, wait, she turned, heart pounding, ready to rush back into his arms. But the nurse was already pulling her gently by the shoulder, a firm yet tender gesture. Let us give him space, she said softly, ushering Emily back into the hall. Stepping outside, the fluorescent lights hurt her eyes, and reality crashed back full force. She leaned against the wall, letting the cool surface ground her dizzying thoughts. Her father needed her now more than ever, and this promise could unravel everything, what secrets he held, what truth he was asking her to face. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone, doing the only thing she could think of in that moment. She typed out a message to Jack, summoning him back to her side. I need help, it read. Her heart raced as she sent it off. She felt it then, the urgency, the weight, the uncharted territory of fear and determination swirling into something new. There was a truth waiting to be uncovered, and she was on the brink of discovering it. But what if that truth pushed her even further from the man she loved, the father she held so dearly? As she waited for Jack, her heart thudded louder in her chest, the burden of the unknown suffocating yet electrifying at the same time. What if the answers to her father's secrets were not just lies left behind, but a broader constellation of things she never fathomed? Emily's phone buzzed in her hand, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. She looked down, heart soaring for a moment as she read Jack's quick reply. On my way. Hold on. The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. She glanced back at her father's room, each rhythmic beep of the machines echoing in her ears like a relentless reminder that time was fleeting. She pushed off the wall, her resolve hardening. Whatever lay ahead, she wouldn't back down. She had made a promise. Pacing the hallway, she tried to both calm her nerves and rally her thoughts. The sterile, harsh glare of the lights dulled the comforting feeling of connection with her father. Frustration bubbled within her, reality sinking in with every passing second. What kind of truth could justify his final plea? What demons had he been hiding so long that they now clawed at her from the shadows? Hey, Jack's voice broke through her reverie, though it carried a softness she only heard from him in moments of vulnerability. As he approached, worry etched across his brow, she felt a rush of relief. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly. It's okay, he murmured, the warmth of his embrace offering a momentary sanctuary. I'm here. But Emily's mind raced. No, it's not okay, she said, pulling back just enough to look into his eyes. Something's wrong with my dad. There are things he hasn't told me, things he wants me to find out. I just don't know where to start. Jack's expression shifted, concern deepening. What do you know? Not much. She ran a hand through her hair, glancing around as if the answers could hide within the walls. Just that he made me promise to find the truth about his health and his life, like there's more to it all than I've been led to believe. Did he say anything specific? Just that he's proud of me, all the usual things, but there's an urgency about it now, and it feels like a secret he's carried alone for too long. He nodded slowly, his mind clearly racing. All right, let us dig into it. What if we start with his medical history? There must be records. A chill shot through Emily. What if it's hidden? What if he didn't want me to know, and I'm betraying him by searching? Or what if it's dangerous to stay in the dark? Jack replied, his voice steady. You know him, he wouldn't ask you to do this if it wasn't important. She swallowed hard, fear swirling again. Jack was right. No matter how uncomfortable the truth, she couldn't ignore her father's plea. Okay, let us do it, she said, steeling herself. I need to access those records. Jack stepped back slightly, a hint of mischief in his eyes. I know a few tricks. Let us just make sure to stay on the right side of things. With an odd mix of excitement and dread washing over her, she nodded. Perhaps the search for the truth would lead them somewhere unexpected, pivotal even. Just as they turned to head towards the administration desk, a voice called out from behind them. Emily. She spun around, and there was her mother, looking more frazzled than usual. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." "Mom!" Emily rushed to her. "What's going on?" Her mother's eyes flitted over to Jack, then back to Emily. "It's about your father, we need to talk." An icy knot gripped her stomach. "What do you mean?" Before her mother could answer, the door to her father's room swung open, and a doctor stepped out, a grave expression on his face. "Ms. Lawson, we need to discuss your father's condition." An icy wave of dread crashed over Emily. The truth was unraveling faster than she could grasp it, and whatever lay ahead felt like a storm brewing. "Is he?" Her voice faltered. "We need to speak privately." The doctor motioned for her to follow. As Emily's stomach twisted, she exchanged a glance with Jack. They both understood this was just the beginning. Whatever they would uncover next might change everything. What will the doctor say? She wondered, a torrent of emotions swirling inside her. Would this lead to answers or only deeper confusion? And even as her mind raced with uncertainty, she felt one thing deeply. Something was about to shift, and she needed to be ready for whatever truth awaited her. Emily followed the doctor down the sterile corridor, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a frantic drum. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead, casting sharp shadows on the walls. She felt Jack's presence behind her, a solid anchor in the chaos. The doctor led them into a small conference room, the kind with uncomfortable chairs and an oversized mahogany table. He motioned for them to sit, his expression serious, eyes grave. The air felt thick, suffocating. "Ms. Lawson, your father's health has deteriorated more than we initially assessed," the doctor began, clearly choosing his words with care. "He has advanced stage cancer, and it has spread." Emily's breath hitched. It felt as though the ground was shifting beneath her. "Cancer." It echoed in her mind, a word so heavy she could hardly process its meaning. "What do you mean, advanced stage?" she managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. "His prognosis isn't good," the doctor said gently. "We're doing everything we can, but I recommend preparing for all possibilities." Prepare for all possibilities. The phrase ricocheted in her mind, awakening a whirlwind of panic. How could this be happening? They had talked just days ago. Her father had seemed, well, maybe not fine, but not like this. Can we treat him? There must be something, anything. She breathed, desperation threading through her words. "We are doing everything possible. But I must be honest, the coming days are critical. It's important you spend time with him, now more than ever." He paused, his gaze steady. "I also recommend discussing any important matters. There may be things he wants to share." Emily's heart sank further. She had a gnawing feeling in her gut that the weight of hidden truths now felt heavier. Things he didn't share. The urgency of his final plea twisted deeper inside her. Jack placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll get through this, Em. Whatever it takes," he reassured, though his voice hinted at the gravity of the situation. After the doctor left, silence blanketed them like a thick fog. Emily felt raw, her insides churning. Her thoughts spiraled, each more frantic than the last. They needed to dive into her father's past, not just for herself but for him. "I need to go back to his room," she finally said, determination rising up through her fear. Jack nodded, his jaw set. "I'm with you." They stepped out of the small room and retraced their path back to her father's room. The clock on the wall ticking steadily, each second stealing moments from her life. With every step, an urgency pulsed within her. She needed to uncover whatever secrets had lingered in the shadows as they entered. Her father's frail figure lay against the stark white sheets. He looked smaller, more fragile, a flickering light fighting against an encroaching darkness. Emily's heart ached at the sight, but she couldn't let despair take over. She had questions, and now felt more than ever that she wouldn't leave until he answered them. "Dad?" she said softly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Can we talk?" His eyes fluttered open. They were tired but filled with a flicker of recognition. "Emily?" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yeah, it's me. I need to know about the things you've kept from me, about the promises." A moment of hesitation passed between them, the weight of unspoken secrets hanging thick in the air. "Sweetheart, there are things you might not be ready to hear." His voice trembled. "But what if I don't have time?" Emily pressed, desperation seeping through her words. A deep breath escaped her father's lips as he wrestled with whatever thoughts churned in his mind. The fear in her chest tightened. Would he protect her from truths that could fracture their already thinning bond? "I promise to tell you everything," he finally murmured, but his gaze drifted away as if searching for a truth he struggled to find. Emily straightened, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Please don't wait any longer." Just as he began to speak, the beep of the monitors changed a warning sign, a sudden urgency filling the room. The soft light adjusted, one more reminder of how fragile everything was. And through the chaos, as fear crept back in, Emily sensed that the moment of revelation was close, yet terrifying in its implication. What secrets would he reveal? And could she truly handle the truth once it came? Emily held her breath, caught in the fragile pulse of uncertainty. The sterile hospital room buzzed with the sound of machines, their rhythmic beeping a cruel reminder of time slipping away. She leaned closer to her father, insecurity battling her resolve. "Dad, I need to hear it from you," she urged. "Please." His eyes, glassy with pain and conflict, glimmered with something more. Was it regret or love? She wanted to think he understood the weight of the moment. The way he sighed told her he did. "I made promises, Emily," he began, his voice shaking. "Promises I didn't keep. Things I thought would protect you. But in the end, maybe it only kept you in the dark." Jack, lingering by the door, shifted uneasily. He wanted to give Emily space, but his heart ached for her. He felt like a bystander in a tragedy, waiting helplessly for the climax. "What do you mean?" Emily pressed, feeling the walls around her world begin to close in. "What did you keep from me?" Her father's fingers trembled as he sought comfort in the sheets. "There's so much about your mother and me that you don't know. Our past, it's complicated." Another surge of emotion flooded through her. Her mother had died when she was young, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. What about Mom? What complications? He hesitated, his gaze drawn up to the ceiling, as if seeking guidance from the sterile tiles above. "Your mother and our love wasn't just a fairy tale. There were mistakes, choices that led to this." He gestured weakly to the machines surrounding him. Emily's heart raced. What kind of mistakes? Wasn't she happy? The silence stretched painfully until he finally whispered, "We had secrets, Emily. Secrets that shaped who we are, who you are." The truth loomed large, but her father seemed lost in his memories. That flicker of recognition she saw in his eyes was slipping away. Panic surged inside her. "Dad, please, if there's something I need to know, tell me now. I can take it." He swallowed hard, a wave of emotions crashing over him. "Your mother loved someone before me. It's not something I ever wanted to talk about. It hurt her deeply. I thought sheltering you from the truth was protecting you, but now I see I might have only built walls." Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes as she processed his words. Each revelation felt like shards of glass cutting through her heart. "You mean all this time?" "Yes." He nodded slowly. "And if you don't know this, you might think my love for her was tainted, or that your worth comes from what she might have wanted. But darling, you are more than her past. You are everything to me. I just didn't want you to feel less." Less? The word felt heavy in the air, an anchor that dragged her down. Could the truth of her mother's past really reshape who she was meant to be? The beep of a monitor quickened, signaling a sudden change in her father's health. He struggled for breath, and in that moment, Emily saw the fragility of their situation. Life was slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. "Dad, don't. You have to fight," she urged, squeezing his hand. "I will," he rasped, taking a moment to gather his breath. "But remember, my dear Emily, that every wrong turn can lead to something beautiful. Embrace all of you, your family history, and your choices." Jack stepped into the room, worried and yet holding back disbelief. The emotional barrier Emily had erected began to show cracks. "Whatever is happening," he said softly, "we can handle it together." As her father's eyes fluttered, a mix of fear and serenity washed over Emily. Now, hovering at the brink of truth, she felt the world shift beneath her. She had to decide. Could she embrace this newfound knowledge and all the messiness that came with it? "Dad," she whispered, "I love you. Please stay with me." With a shallow breath, he tried to smile, but darkness edged closer. Just then, an alarm blared from the monitor, a harsh reminder that their time was running out. What happens if he... Emily glanced at Jack, who was already moving closer, instinctively prepared for the worst. "I don't know," Jack replied, panic spilling into his voice. "But we can't let him go yet." The connection they all shared felt like it could snap at any moment. As the alarm intensified, Emily realized they were diving into the deep end of uncertainty, and she didn't know what awaited them on the other side. What other hidden truths lay buried, waiting for the right moment to emerge? The air crackled with tension as Emily stood between her father and Jack, caught in a gripping moment of anxiety. The alarms seemed to echo the frantic rhythm of her heart. Time stretched like old taffy, and each second felt like an eternity. "Stay with me, Dad," she urged again, gripping his hand tighter, feeling the warmth slip away. Jack moved forward, his face shadowed by worry. "We're right here. Don't you dare leave us." He placed a steady hand on Emily's back, a silent promise of support as they both hovered on the precipice of loss. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a flurry of nurses poured in. Their precise movements felt like a choreographed dance honed from countless emergencies. "We need to stabilize him," one shouted, and another quickly grabbed the crash cart, wheeling it to the bedside. Emily stepped back, her heart breaking as the chaos swirled around them. She felt suspended in that moment, helpless. Jack kept his hand on her back, their connection grounding her insecurities. "Please, please," she whispered, squeezing her father's hand, feeling tears streaming down her cheeks. "Fight for us, for me." He blinked slowly, struggling against the harsh lights that filled the room. "Emily," he rasped, "you need to know. My love never faltered. You were everything." Her heart ached at his words. She struggled to maintain her composure, but the rawness of the situation left her reeling. "I know, Dad. I love you too. Just hold on." The flurry of nurses worked in unison. Machines beeped in an unrelenting rhythm as they fought against time. It felt violent, urgent yet fragile. A few moments later, the alarms shifted from an aggressive wail to a steady beep, a controlled sound, but one just edged with uncertainty. The doctor re-entered, urgency tempered by a calm that soothed the chaotic room. He moved through the throng, gauging the environment, then turned his attention to the family. "Your father's stable for now," he said, taking a breath to grant the moment some relief. "But we must continue monitoring him closely. He is a fighter, and we need to remain vigilant." Every word felt like a small lifeboat in a turbulent sea. Emily steadied herself, swallowing the fresh wave of fear that washed over her. The momentary relief felt fragile, an outstretched hand clinging to hope. After some quiet moments, the commotion subsided, and a stillness settled over her father's room. Nurses finished their checks, allowing the family a moment of privacy. Emily felt the weight of Jack's presence next to her, a warm light amidst the cool sterility of the hospital. As she watched her father breathe, a quiet determination filled her heart. "Dad, I will figure this out. No more secrets." His eyes met hers, and something shifted. The fear, the pain, it morphed into a bond, a promise of connection. "Promise yourself," he gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "Live for you, not for the past." Tears pooled in her eyes, understanding dawning like the first light of day. The pain of loss didn't diminish the love they shared. She felt the weight of all the unspoken words hanging in the air, but it also ignited a fire within her. "I will, Dad. I promise," she whispered fervently, sealing the moment in her heart. Jack stepped closer, merging their hands together, drawing strength from one another. "Whatever you find, we're in this together. You don't have to face anything alone." As she glanced at Jack, She realized with startling clarity that she had finally found the courage to dig deeper, to confront the truth her father had thrust upon her. And with Jack by her side, there was nothing she couldn't face. It was time to honor her father's wishes and unearth the truths that lay buried in the shadows of their family's past. Later that night, after the doctors ensured her father's condition was stable and left the room, Emily found herself seated beside Jack in a vacant waiting area. The harsh fluorescent lights of the hallway cast long shadows. "You okay?" Jack asked, breaking the comfortable silence that settled between them. "Feels like I need to breathe only half the time," she admitted, her voice shaky but true. "I'm scared, but I will find the truth. I owe it to him." Jack reached across, gently squeezing her hand. "That's the spirit. Whatever you uncover, we'll take it one step at a time. You don't have to shoulder the burden alone." Her heart swelled at his steadfastness. He had been her light in the dark, and now they were in this together, facing whatever came next. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, and Emily looked up to see a doctor approaching. A quick glance to Jack confirmed their shared anticipation. "Ms. Lawson, I need to discuss your father's care," the doctor said, gesturing for them to follow. Emily's heart raced. She wasn't just stepping forward into the unknown. She was diving headfirst into the depths of family history. She inhaled sharply, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. With Jack beside her, she felt empowered, ready to face the challenges, the secrets, and whatever truth surfaced. Together, they would illuminate the past to forge a brighter future constructed from love, resilience, and an unwavering bond. And as they crossed the threshold into the busy hospital hallway, Emily finally felt that she was taking the first steps toward healing. The promise made to her father wasn't just words. It was a commitment to herself and her family. In that moment, everything shifted. This was not the end. It was a powerful beginning. Now, here's the moment. If you loved this story and want even more incredible transformations, you need to subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share this journey with more people. And comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. Lastly, share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation in their lives. Let us spread the power of love, hope, and connection.